range is going to be learning something today, and your practice will be the better for it. Of course, we want to start the program like we do each and every week by shouting out to a couple of organizations and people that you need to know about. The first is our fine friends at the International Coach Federation. We are delighted, honored, and inspired to be a media partner with the International Coach Federation. Our partnership is now in its 4th year, gives us a welcome opportunity to support the fine work of the folks involved in the association. And they are fine people. I tell you, every once in a while when I have a question, concern, thought, feeling, body sensation, or psychic intuition, and I contact them, they get right back to me. Last night somebody got back to me after hours because they happen to be working from home. You got to love that kind of dedication. The International Coach Federation, which is, of course, also known as the ICF, is a leading global organization dedicated to advancing the coaching profession. They do that by setting high standards, by providing independent certification, and by building a worldwide network of trained coaching professionals. If you think about it, it's the world's largest organization of professionally trained coaches, and therefore the ICF elicits instant credibility for its members, like me, and the ICF is also committed to connecting professional coaches like you and me with the tools and resources we need to succeed in our careers. There's all sorts of treasure there. If you go to the ICF website, coachfederation.org, you'll find all kinds of things that are useful, valuable, delicious, and interesting. There's one of the world's largest, I believe the world's largest treasure trove of research in coaching. So if you need to prove ROI or prove the effectiveness of coaching for a pitch you're making, that's your spot. If you want to just find out about coaches, coach meetings, and other events in your area, that's your spot. If you want to get some training for free that's CCEU approved, that's your spot. There's more. Go to coachfederation.org or check them out on Twitter at because you have to talk like that with Twitter, ICFHQ. That's at ICF HQ. We're also delighted to have an ICF representative on this here show each and every month. So we've talked to everybody from membership people to the executive director to people that are in charge of research, every kind of thing. So you want to stay tuned for those shows or check them out on the archives right here. All right. The other fine people you need to know about before we even take another step is, look, if you're like me, well, God help you, but if you are, then when you go to look for coach training, you're looking for the finest. You're not looking for the cheapest. You're not looking for the most widespread. You're not looking for, the quickest diploma mill. You're looking for something that's going to train you once, train you well, and at the highest level. You're looking for the Harvard, the Oxford, the Stanford of coaching. And if you're looking for that, go no further than Accomplishment Coaching. You can find them on the web at accomplishmentcoaching.com, home of the world's finest coach training program, and they're not kidding. More hours, more training, more live training. All of their work, small groups in person. And they're ICF accredited, of course, and the only place that I know of where you can get an entire year with a coach, once a week, just like a regular coach, as part of your training package, and you can go observe the coach training program before you register, before you do anything. Just ask for an invitation and you will get one. You can go see the coach training program in person. And man, wouldn't that be cool to be able to check outside, to look in that black box before you make a decision about your time and money? So check it out, Accomplishment Coaching. Here are the cities they're in. I will list them because I can read. Number 1, San Diego, California, Seattle, Washington, Victoria, British Columbia, beautiful little island, Chicago, Illinois, New York City, the Big Apple, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where we could certainly use some leadership development. All of those places are available now for you to check it out and register into if you so choose. Again, accomplishmentcoaching.com. And, of course, if you're looking for a coach, why not go to the place with the finest trained coaches, accomplishmentcoaching.com. All right. I want to introduce you to somebody. We're going to talk all about social media today, as I said. And I want to introduce you to somebody who's an extraordinary coach, a powerhouse leader, a delicious human being, and a kick in the pants. Michelle Aiken is a coach from the eastern wilds of our United States. And she is a person who, before she was a coach, was internet famous. Michelle, look around outside. Where do you join us from today? Hello, Michelle. We need to push some buttons so we can hear Michelle. There are lots of people with lots of faces, very concerned, walking around here today. We're going to find Michelle. She's under something. It's always they're always in the last place you left them. leave them. Michelle, are you there?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I got very excited. Hi. Sorry, we found the right buttons to push, and we found somebody to push them. Michelle,
Hooray.
my question, if you recall, because we're coaches, we remember this stuff, was look around outside. Where are you today?
I'm in New Jersey.
Get out. No, I'm kidding. Well, first of all, welcome. And will you tell us a little bit about your internet fame, how you became famous and how people knew you?
Sure. Yeah, back in college, I went to school for digital filmmaking and also got into comedy with my college roommate, Grace. And then we started a sketch comedy group and an online vlog, as they call it, a video blog, which is not a vlog, but a vlog on YouTube. And
You knew what I was going to call it. Nice.
we amassed a following of tens of people at first, and at some point, a larger YouTuber found us and promoted us on their channel. And overnight, we went from 2,000 followers that we had grown very organically over the course of 2 or 3 years to 2,000 followers. We went from 2,000 to 10,000 overnight, and then it was just it grew very quickly from there. And basically, we would just sit down and jibber-jabber about our lives and then edit it together in a way that was easy to watch and really fun. And it didn't ask a lot of people. Everything was 2 minutes or less. And we just had a good time. And primarily, we were always making videos to try and make each other laugh. And
Nice.
I think that was the key.
As opposed to male comedians who are trying to make you laugh also.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So you know a thing or two and have sort of come up to find your way to the social media universe. You've become one of those people who like posts things and puts pictures up, and people keep in touch with you like that. So I know that you're going to be excited today to co-host. You're a special guest co-host today. That's your
Yes.
official title. And the entire hour today, it's my intention that we talk about the social media universe and how we can use different tools and different approaches to actually make social media work for us.
Sure.
Before I bring on our next guest, what's your take on social media today? Is it a must-do for all business people? Is it a must-do for people in service business like coaches? What's your take on it?
I mean, my first thing about it is that you need to enjoy it, whatever platform you're on. So people will say to me, should I be on Twitter? And I say, do you like Twitter? Have you used it? Do you enjoy it? Do you get something out of it for yourself? Because if you don't, it's going to be really obvious to the people who are following you or looking for you there that you are trying to do Twitter instead of be Twitter. Because it's...
And then you can have Twitter. Yeah.
Exactly. I started there when it was fun. I used it. I was a user of it. I didn't have a business that I was promoting in any way. I mean, I suppose I had a brand, but I didn't know what a brand was. This was back when it first started, and so I was just being goofy on there. And I'm still goofy on there. That's just my place to go be a goof. Mm-hmm. And it's just remained, it's the same. If you went back in my history and read 5 years ago, I sound pretty much the same on Twitter.
Goofy is as Goofy does. So okay, so now, I'm a dinosaur. I don't know any of this stuff. I don't know why people take pictures of their food. I don't know why, I should care about somebody named Jenner or Kardashian. I just don't know why. They seem kind of annoying to me. What's your take on the beginning of social media, or where should we dip our toe in the water, or should we?
I think first you have to be a bit of a stalker and just see what's going on there and find people that you're interested in and see what they're doing and communicate with people, because fundamentally it's a communication device. And I know for me it was I'm an extroverted introvert, so when I'm around people, I'm good. But typically, I'm a bit of a hobbit, and I hang out. I just call myself an internet kid. From joining the coach training program, that a big thing for me was learning how to interact with people in real life. And what I would do is I would go up in front of a room, in front of a bunch of people, and treat them like a camera.
Yeah.
And that was the big hurdle for me, was learning how to talk to other humans, because I'd been talking to a camera for so long. And so at the same time, it was really helpful for me because I was going through a lot. I was going through the loss of my mother, and just being a 20-something in New York and trying to be an actress and all this difficult stuff. And I had all these friends online to communicate with and to share what was going on with me and to hear about them and to not feel so alone. So that was the big thing for me, and it's transformed now into just, that's where a lot of my friends are, even my friends in other countries, my friends all over the world that want to keep up with what I'm doing. And I know a lot of them, and I know what they're doing. In fact, one of them is staying with me right now from Sweden.
Wow.
Yeah, my friend Martin, he's here from
Just
Sweden.
let people into your home. That seems odd.
Yeah.
I'm teasing. Hey, let's get another expert up in this piece. Jay, I'm very excited to have Jay-Z on the show today. Oh, no, I think I read that. I misread that. Jay Izso, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I said that wrong. He's witty, he's wise, he knows a lot of things about social media, the uses and abuses of social media. He's also, of course, the author of a book, everybody should be, right, called Got Social Mediology. He's known as the Internet Doctor, and he's an author, a speaker, a consumer analyst, and a psychological business consultant who helps entrepreneurs and businesses reduce their marketing budget and achieve greater results by understanding the psychology of their consumer in face-to-face and social media environments. We're delighted to welcome to our microphone Jay Izso. Is that the correct pronunciation, sir?
You know what, the simplest pronunciation is, think of Coach Izzo
Ova?
from Michigan State,
Uh-huh.
and that is the easiest way to pronounce it. So Izzo is great, but my football coach in high school couldn't get it right, so he called me Izzo, so it really doesn't matter to me as long as
I kind of like that guy.
yeah.
All right.
Coach Tingelhoff is awesome.
I'll pose the same question that I did that I assume you've heard with Michelle, which is where do we start, especially if we're not of the millennial generation where we didn't grow up with a phone or some digital device in our hands?
Yeah, so I don't think of the platforms as platforms. I think of them as cultures. And so, because they each, culture is about language and the unwritten rules, norms, and expectations. And so, when I think about a culture that is the easiest to fit into in this social media world, I think LinkedIn is easiest for us to start, just to kind of get your feel around of what a social media culture is about, especially now that Microsoft has purchased it and they're making it a little bit more friendly than the stuffy business culture that it was. So I like people to kind of start there and feel their way around versus the frenziness of, say, Twitter, which I was with Michelle when this whole thing started, and when Twitter was fun, when we actually had conversations and we were joking around and we were being silly and we were talking to people that we never thought we would ever talk to on Twitter, and now, that, of course, that's all changed. But it's too frenzied. Facebook can be a little overwhelming just because you can't deal with all the personal information coming at you. And what we understand psychologically is sometimes watching other people's happiness can make you a little depressed.
Yeah.
Sounds funny, but it's really true. And so I like LinkedIn because I think it's the safest place to kind of get your feet wet in the social media world.
Okay, great. Let's talk about I love that notion of platforms as culture. So it seems to me that for as long as I've been aware of social media, which is about 20 minutes, we've been sort of in a race, right, where the kids are trying to find the new platform to go be themselves and just hang out together and get away from mom and dad, who are sort of right behind them, right? So first the kids were on Facebook, then mom and dad showed up on Facebook, so they went someplace else. I don't know where, but you could tell me. And, Tumblr, great. And is that sort of do you foresee that to continue? Like the kids are just going to keep finding new and exciting places, Vine or whatever, to I know that Vine's not a thing anymore.
I was going to say Vine died.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
So, is that a necessary thing? Like, is our society just going to always do that?
Well, we've always done that, haven't we, as human beings? Right? As we were growing up, we were close to our parents as small children, and then as we move into adolescence, we want to distance ourselves from our parents, so we would sneak off somewhere. Before the days of social media, we would sneak off somewhere privately and not tell our parents where we were going. and we would get away with things that we would not ordinarily get away with. And once our parents found out where that secret place was, we'd move it to another secret place.
Right.
It's the same thing that we're doing in these cultures. We're just, or you can think of them as an ecological niche, so where we can fit in. And so as we are human, and we are human even online, even in a digital world, we're just moving from place to place to try to find some place to escape. So Snapchat, right, is real popular with the teens. That's a really popular culture right now, as well as Instagram, because Instagram is duplicating what Snapchat does and actually does it better. And the parents don't understand either one. So they bounce back and forth because it's harder for the parents to keep up with it.
Yeah.
So we're going to see that continue, regardless of what it is.
Okay. But so I think I'm already out of my depth a little bit. So let's go back a step. One of the things that I love, Jay, is that you've got. By the way, Michelle, if you want to speak, you're going to have to just force your way in here because yeah. So, Jay, one of the things that goes with the internet doctor moniker of yours is that you've started labeling diseases, including the digital foot and mouth disease, to get cured.
DFMD.
Right. Will you tell us
Yes.
what that is? And I think there are probably some recent examples that are pretty convenient.
Digital foot and mouth disease, DFMD. Do not try that at home, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, Michelle, I was born in New Jersey, just to let you know. I was born in Bergen County in Union City Hospital, and my family still lives in Edison, Woodbridge,
that's right where I am.
New Brunswick.
Nice.
Yeah, so
There's-
just to let you know.
Look for the statues
So
of
I'm
Jay
okay
on the
with you
corners. Yep. Sorry. go
Yeah,
ahead.
so if you jump on top of me, that would be just a typical Jersey girl thing to do. So I'm comfortable with that because I've got enough family to do.
I'm just waiting.
So
just
we're
finish
good.
your point so I can interrupt you.
I'll do that. So digital foot and mouth disease. This is when we post something on one of the digital cultures that causes problems, either personally, professionally, both, and can create all sorts of discomfort, pain, and suffering as a result of something that you said online. And so we see this quite often, and it can become a huge train wreck for people where they have to get to the point where they have to delete their accounts. They make excuses for their problems when they do digital foot and mouth disease. So it is a pervasive problem. It occurs every day. There's not a day that doesn't go by that somebody has DFMD online, and it doesn't matter which culture or platform that it is. It happens regularly, and it is painful, and it is hurt, and it's hard to overcome.
What I think is funny about it, too, is that we seem to think it's this phenomenon that people have ideas that we don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. We've always had ideas that each other didn't like. We just now have all of these platforms or cultures where we all have been given license to put everything in our brain on loudspeaker. And that's all that's happening, really, because everybody's got thoughts that would anger 5 of the people in their vicinity if they were to say it out loud. And now we just have a place to do it publicly.
I'm starting to feel like it's just you, Michelle.
I mean, it might be.
Yeah, sorry. Jay.
Yeah, well, and Dr. Suler has created a term, and I'm so mad because it's so simple, and yet I wish I would have created this term to help us understand it, and it's called online disinhibition effect.
Nice.
And Dr. Suler is a great psychologist, digital psychologist, and online disinhibition effect is that when we are in front of a phone or a computer screen, we're less inhibited. And so we will say things that we probably would not say. Well, I know we would not say in person.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of that disinhibition that occurs. And Michelle, I don't know if you've ever done this. I did this once. So I decided one day I was going to really pay attention to what people were saying online that were personal friends of mine that I see face to face, and then I was going to bring up the subject matter face to face that they said online. Okay, talk about really watching people become uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They are so uncomfortable when you bring up something that they said on Facebook or Twitter or whatever the culture was. And I purposely did this, right? And as an experiment, just to see what would happen. And it was so interesting that I had some people who immediately just defriended me, stopped following me as soon as they got to their car with their phone, because it was like I had encroached in that space where we were way too close. You know, the close talker? You remember that from Seinfeld, the close talker? It was kind of that type of an experience where they ran away. It's really interesting. If you want to try that at home, Michelle, try it, because it's really, really cool. You're going to lose some friends over it, but it's okay. You probably have enough.
Yeah.
So
well, my husband did it recently. That's the first thing that popped into my head is a conversation he had with someone recently where he brought up a discourse that they had on Facebook, and the person he was talking to said, "I'm not willing to talk to you about this. I'm just very disappointed in you, but I'm not willing to talk to you about it."
So disappointed that you would bring my own words to me. Yeah.
Right?
That's great.
That's awesome. It's awesome, because people don't even understand their own human behavior when they do things like that. I mean, it just tells you what a disconnect our digital world is from our real life when they get that emotionally wrapped up into something they've said online versus what they say in person. It's really, really interesting, I think, from a human psychological standpoint.
I want to move from the theoretical to the practical. So each of us, I think, has witnessed recently some of what we would call this DFMD, or what you're calling DFMD. You know, maybe train wrecks online. What can we learn from those, and can we use some examples to really give our listeners, some people, some tools here, what to do when something goes horribly wrong?
Sure. Well, if you follow athletes, there's always been an athlete that has said something that they should not have said to a fan or in the public. A few years ago, Cardell Jones, who was quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes, had tweeted out, "I don't know why we have to go to class, because I'm here to play football. That's what we're here to do." And of course, it met with all sorts of bad things for him in his college career, and he had to completely remove his entire his whole entire platform, all his cultures, because he was getting controlled. He was controlled. But yesterday we had something, a couple days ago, we had something happen really, really major, probably unintentional, that created a huge stir. And this was United Airlines. When people do, what you have to understand is, and I'm writing about this now, is you have to always make the assumption that you are being filmed, that you are on camera. I don't care what business you are in. And what happened with United Airlines a couple days ago, when they asked 4 people to leave the plane because they needed to get 4 staff people on down to Louisville from Chicago, they ended up dragging this guy out of through the aisle by his arms, through the aisle, and somebody's filming this. And
lots
they're
of people,
snapping
right?
pictures. This cost, call it a correlation, I think it's cause and effect, but their stock dropped to the point they lost $600 million in a day. United Airlines did. $600 million in one day. Now, I'm sure they can eat it without too much problem, but they didn't have to lose $600 million a day if United Airlines would have thought through the fact that there always is a camera everywhere, even when it's in airplane mode. And if it would have been much cheaper for them to have everybody exit the plane and then deal with it individually. Even though it would have cost them some time, it would have been a lot cheaper than $600 million.
Well, my understanding, there are a bunch of failures there, but I want to talk about in a moment about how to recover when there's something that's either true or not true about you on the web. So what we know about the United Airlines thing is that, first of all, there's a failure of people right there, because my understanding is they offered up to an $800 voucher for people to volunteer. And we all know that if they'd gone to 1,000, 17 people would have walked off the plane, right?
I actually read that there's a cap on how much they can legally offer people. and that's why they didn't go above it.
Ah, okay. But there's
that's interesting.
there's one failure, right? Or and then there's other perks that they perhaps could have offered, including meals and whatnot, that would have made it more attractive for people. But then I think the piece that sort of speaks more to the digital foot and mouth thing is the CEO's response, right? Because, we understand that sometimes in organizations, mistakes happen on the front lines. But then when the CEO comes out and talks about reaccommodation, oh, look at that. I got surprised by the time. It's exciting right here on Amateur Hour. I apologize. I got so into my own story that that tells us that it's time for a break. Of course, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the amazing Jay Izso and Michelle Aiken. You're joining us on the coaching show right here on WSRadio.com or wherever fine podcasts are available. Back with you after 2.
Hi, Mary. Our growth has me looking for new furniture, but I can't find the right vendor. Can you help?
For sure.
Do you know a company that will give me a great value?
For sure.
Do you know a company that provides great selection?
For sure.
Do you know a company that is professional and responsive?
For sure, it's Shore. Shore Office Warehouse has been providing great value, service, and selection for over 40 years. It's Shore, for sure. ShoreOfficeWarehouse.com.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, CEO and founder of VinVillage.com and the Wine and Dine Show on Vin Village Radio. Do you have a wine, event, product, or service to promote? Then contact VinVillage.com to reach thousands of wine lovers across the country. VinVillage connects like-minded wine enthusiasts with unique and exclusive wines, events, products, and services. To learn more, contact us on VinVillage.com. VinVillage is where wine lovers connect.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.
Gotham Books presents Marriage Rules by Harriet Lerner. The book Martha Beck calls required reading for anyone hoping to interact successfully with any other human, not just for those in romantic relationships. Get your copy wherever books and ebooks are sold, and visit harrietlerner.com to learn how to change your marriage today.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Accomplishment Coaching is proud to present the following fine programming. Accomplishment Coaching, where coaches lead and leaders coach. AccomplishmentCoaching.com.
Welcome back to the Coaching Show with your host, Master Certified Coach Christopher McCullough.
And we are talking today all about social media, and I've been waiting for this opportunity. We've got two delightful geniuses with us. Michelle Aiken is a coach and somebody who has been internet famous and knows all about the various uses and misuses of social media. She joins us as a guest co-host from her palatial mansion in New Jersey, the wilds of New Jersey. Jay Izso is a author and a genius in the world of social media. His book is Got Social Mediology, ? And website, as I understand it, Jay, is socialmediology.com. That's social, S-O-C-I-A-L, mediology, M-E-D-I-O-L-O-G-Y, which will be on the test. Michelle Aiken, you can find out all about her by going to Michelle, M-I-C-H-E-L-L-E, Aiken, A-K-I-N, .NYC. How cool is that? just before the break, we were talking about this sort of blunder, this widespread blunder by United Airlines, and I was trying to get to the point that not only was there a blunder on the ground that got captured, and Jay's great point that we should always assume that you're on camera, whatever you're doing, but that then the CEO made it worse by sort of coming out about reaccommodation instead of just an apology. Is there a lesson for all of us there when somebody comes after us on the Twitter or in the Facebooking that we should respond a certain way, Jay?
Yeah, well, if he would have just issued an apology up front, he could have avoided everything instead of this long message that he posted on Twitter about, and we're all upset about this event. I mean, it was clearly handled wrong.
Yeah.
And that was not acknowledged. It was just that we apologize for him to reaccommodate these customers, and our team is moving with a sense of urgency to work with the authorities and conduct a detailed review. Well, I'm sorry, but we saw what we saw. And so there is a real huge lesson to be learned here. If you have a disaster, apologize. Don't try to give us the finely crafted, politically correct.
Right, it was gross, yeah.
Right? I mean, don't do that. When you have a disaster, and by the way, here's the other thing. Do not tell everybody that your account was hacked. Celebrities love doing that more than any other. Celebrities and athletes love doing this. Whenever things go wrong, they want to say my account was hacked or that wasn't me. Don't make any excuses. Just apologize right up front. Just say we were wrong. We are sorry. We are going to fix this.
That's like great advice for life, first of all. But second of all, is that advice, this is for both of you, that everybody should follow, whether you're trolled, whether people's complaints are grumpy? If we're a coach, sooner or later somebody's not going to, be our fan and get on the interwebs and talk about us, maybe poorly or accuse us of something. Is the best move to always just graciously apologize even if they're dead wrong, or is there ever a time that it's good to fight?
I think it depends on your brand. So a friend of mine, Derek Halpern, I don't know if you've heard of him. He does a lot of online marketing advice for business owners, and his brand is it's him being himself, and he's very in your face. So he even got online yesterday and was like, so let's talk about this United Airlines thing, and he was playing devil's advocate, and the people in the comments got so mad at him, but he's like, whatever guys, be mad. I don't care. And it's part of his brand to be kind of abrasive and really just to be himself unapologetically. And I mean, maybe to his detriment at times, but I admire him. I'm not going to do what he does, but I admire his authenticity, at least. I think apologizing first is always the thing to do. That's my opinion personally. And I also think there's a fine line between falling on the sword and apologizing from the heart.
I agree. I think Michelle is absolutely correct in everything that she has said here, because I do think if you have a brand that is kind of not politically correct, well, then you have to stay with that, regardless of what happens to the fallout, because that's your brand. But if you are, in this case, a brand that's is typically politically correct, you need to go ahead and take the responsibility, because you see the video. We saw what happened to the NFL when they tried to cover up some video information with Ray Rice and his wife in the elevator, and we've seen what that can do to you over time. So this is one of those cases in which I think they should, but there are times where sometimes you just don't say anything, because I have a rule about trolls, and here's my rule. If you don't feed them, they go away, because they die.
I made a video called "Don't Feed the Trolls"
Nice.
on one of my YouTube channels.
Like it when there's
I learned that early.
congruence. Yeah. All right, so I like that, because if you're, very few of us have the abrasive kind of quality. I like Derek Halpern because he's famous for having tweeted a recipe for ice cubes. But the notion of The notion of like, unless you've got that brand, then don't go out there and fight. Don't try and take like the good route of like, but you don't understand people. Just apologize. That's what I'm taking. And also, don't feed the trolls. Recognize it's part of life. People are going to criticize you. You're going to be a target the minute you get on the interwebs, and so it's part of the territory. And if you start getting a thin skin, well, I think we all have a pretty famous example of a thin skin and how that goes. What ethics are there in terms of our use of social media? I mean, I think that I know that in the coaching world and in any service world, you're coming across with high ethics and high integrity, ideally. But are there specific ethical issues around social media? Especially, I'm thinking about maybe coaches who might go out on a Saturday night and live it up a little bit and want to post their bowling team's victory, and then on Monday morning want to be taken seriously as a trained professional offering a service. Ideas?
Well, again, I think it comes down to your brand. My clients hire me partially because they already feel like they know me. I've had many people call me up, or we have one call and they're like, hey, I've been following you for 4 years, which might sound creepy to you, Christopher, but it's not. And they know everything about my life because I was a vlogger. So I came into coaching having already put my entire life on the internet with very little boundaries. I learned some boundaries a little bit when I got to AC, but that's been a growing edge for me is where are my boundaries, and it's something I play with all the time, but I'm kind of an open book, so if I go out, my clients are like, yeah, you went out, but they still take me seriously.
Nice.
Yeah, I am the same way as Michelle. My clients and the people that I coach and consult, the companies I consult with, they know what I am. I mean, I have my life on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. They see that. They know that I like to play hard. They know that I like to work hard. And they see both sides of that. And like Michelle, I tweak that from time to time. There's some things I go, yeah, probably this would not be the best thing. Not because I'm worried about it in terms of being hired or not hired or being fired or whatever. More so because it's maybe not my finest moment or a moment that really reflects who I really am. It was a brief moment in history because our lives are not really pictures. Our lives are more like a video. And so even though I know that people want to look at the picture, sometimes you got to remove those pictures so that the video looks right.
Gotcha. Jay, I know that one of the things that you deal with is that you're one of the few people in the world that applies psychological principles to social media. So for our listeners who are in many cases still working to build a brand, still trying to get their message out there, what are some basic steps? What would you have us do to sort of, and how do we take advantage of your psychological principles and training?
Sure. So there's a very simple principle when it comes to doing business on social media that works in life face-to-face, and they're very similar. And I tell people this: you do not give money to people you don't trust. You do not trust people you do not like, and you do not like people you do not know. And the one beautiful thing that social media can help us do, and Michelle clearly has demonstrated this, as well as myself, is that we use social media so that people can know us, come to like us, and ultimately come to trust us. And that turns into profit without having to spend money on the advertising piece, because we're really building real relationships online. And you can do that.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Jersey.
What I love about it, too, is not only does it bring profit, but what I've noticed over the years is that people will say to me, I would never hire a life coach. But I started watching your comedy videos, and I didn't even know what life coaching was. I would never have come to any of this if it wasn't for you being yourself online. So, yes, money is great, and I love that people who wouldn't come to this sort of work get to have a difference made for them and have their life go differently, because I made some silly videos,
Yeah.
And Michelle, I think you're a prime example of the type of people I try to explain how this works when I wrote the book, because what I really wanted people to understand is that stop using social media as a billboard and start being authentic. Because if we're authentic, even online, we can generate authenticity. You and I both know when somebody's not being authentic, that they're just trying to get something from us. It's really, really easy, and you don't have to be a psychological profiler in order to quickly understand who's being real with you and just wants to develop a relationship with you, and that person who's trying to get something from you. And it's a very simple psychological principle, but it so works, it's so true, and it's so free.
And brands try to emulate it, which is really funny. Like, even, I don't know if you know about, well, Pepsi, yeah, that's a huge train wreck. But there's this funny thing that happened on Twitter earlier in the week. This kid, Carter, tweeted that he tweeted to Wendy's saying, how many retweets do I need to get in order to get a year of free nuggets? And they said 18 million. And so I saw this when he was at around 650,000, and I retweeted it because I was like, oh, this is funny. And I don't usually do that. But then what started happening, he got to like 2 million last I looked, or just under, and I haven't checked it, but he started being approached by all these brands, and then they were like pimping each other out. It was like Amazon said, or Netflix said they would do this, and they said, how about you, Amazon? How about you, Google? And then T-Mobile's like, oh, I'm sorry you have AT&T, Carter. We'll have you switch to a plan with us, and we'll give you this, and we'll give you that. And then United Airlines was like, hey, we'll fly you anywhere in the world. And people basically just lashed out at them like, oh, trying to earn our good graces now, are you? It's not going to work. We hate you anymore.
Look, we'll give you a seat. You may or may not get to stay there.
And that's what people said. They set themselves up so horribly,
Right.
I mean, perfectly.
Oh, my
but
favorite.
It was ugly.
Yeah, my favorite use of the internet this week has been new United Airlines mottos. But let's move on. One of the things, and our time is flying by here, guys. So I kind of want to get to some meat. What should everyone listening, everyone within the sound of our voice, immediately stop doing and immediately start doing with the internet? I'm going to start with you, Jay. Sorry, Michelle. Go.
Oh, so what should they start doing? What should they stop doing?
Yeah.
Right away? Start being authentic. Stop being polarizing. And when I say polarizing, you have to be very careful of your surroundings. I think whenever you get political, you are shutting off 50% of the possible people that will be working with you whenever you do polarizing.
But they're the wrong 50%. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you know what? There's no wrong 50% in business, right? Because I wrote an article on LinkedIn called "The Worst, You're Unreferable." When you start taking these strong political stances, you can no longer be referred by other people because you don't know who that person is, what their political leanings are, and you've got this person who's being outspoken.
Mm-hmm.
I have people friends, I cannot refer them business because I know where their political leanings are, and I have no idea if these people are Republican or Democrat, and I'm not taking the chance because they're so hard-lined on their social media that I would be offended.
Okay.
If I sent them to that.
I've already failed that one. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a local example, though. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, nice.
We have 3 major basketball programs within 20 miles of each other: Duke University, University of North Carolina, and North Carolina State.
Never heard of them. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. They're really, yeah. So North Carolina have won the basketball national championship, and basketball is the biggest sport here in this area. The problem is people started posting, congratulations, University of North Carolina, and they started losing business because the other 2 fan bases want nothing to do with it. Because they know that you're supporting the enemy. Not only that, North Carolina, of course, is under some indictments and investigation in terms of what they've done with classes or fake classes, so to speak. So now you've got this hateful 2 groups who are now looking at this business, and this one business is a jeweler who puts up on this giant sign, congratulations, University of North Carolina, national champions. Parking lot is empty.
Wow.
That's normally there because it's that big of a deal. So stop doing stuff that's polarizing. You say it's not a big deal, it is a big deal. And I can't say that any more clearer than that.
Great. So start being authentic, stop being polarizing. Michelle, what do you say? What do you
I have a really radical stop doing. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Stop complaining. I stopped complaining on social media It was a while ago, but I made a very distinct decision to stop complaining. This is like before I became a coach and everything, because I just saw all of the word vomit I would put up online every day, and I started to think, why am I doing this? Or what's this for? What am I looking to elicit? Because I would elicit things that I didn't really want. Arguments with people, flame wars, we call them. And I didn't want that, so I just, before I would hit send on any post on Tumblr, which I don't really use anymore at all because it's kind of dead, but I that's where I lived for years, I would post things and it would start stuff, and I didn't want to start stuff. And when I stopped complaining on social media, it changed my life. It changed how I interact with people. I stopped complaining in person. And it's very difficult because it like feeds our identity to complain, and we get to see it in print, and then we get to argue with people about it, and it doesn't really go anywhere. It's kind of just a loop, and I learned that after years of doing it. So I would say stop complaining. It'll completely change your life. Something to start doing, get to know people, and don't, this is another don't, but like I find that people use getting to know people as a tactic. Don't do that. Actually go get to know people. Be interested. And if you're not interested, then don't be on it.
Gotcha. There's a lot of pressure these days to advertise on different social media things, right? Facebook famously, certainly there's Google AdWords and stuff for search. But I'm thinking now more about the advertisements that we sort of invariably run into, but may not always know it's an advertisement or a targeted ad. Do you guys have thoughts or positions about that, especially when it comes to coaching or other personal consulting type services? Is this a good idea?
Go ahead, Michelle. I'll let you start.
All right. I'm so torn about it. I'm so torn. I'm having a constant crisis around this lately, just in the last few months, because I both understand marketing. I've been around it. I worked with Marie Forleo, who's one of the biggest marketing consultants online and in the world, I think. Just everyone knows her. And I've been around her information for just like ever. I can't remember not knowing all this stuff that she teaches, and I haven't really implemented it myself because I grew so organically. And so I'm in this constant struggle between being a word of mouth coach, and that's how I've built most of my business, and just being myself online and having that bring in. And anytime I do direct ads, it feels like me not being me, and I'm thinking I just need to hire a team and have them do some of it for me because I can't bring myself to. So that's my non-answer to this, because I haven't really figured it out.
Yeah, so I'm going to piggyback right off of what Michelle said. I think for some industries it works really, really well. I think if you're selling some physical product, I think you can take like Facebook advertising, and of course you can target it so well and so neatly that you can find the right people. And then of course you can have a cause and effect relationship where they could click on the ad, it could take you to a cart, and you can purchase that in whatever that product is immediately into a cart. I think whenever we have a service like Michelle's or myself where we're consulting or coaching or whatever, or whenever we pay for that advertising and somebody clicks on that, what are we really expecting to happen?
Yeah.
And because all it's going to do is it's going to either lead them to some sort of a web page, it's going to lead to some splash page,
right.
It's going to lead them somewhere, but it's not really a cause and effect relationship where I can say this is they're going to do something. And then the other part of it is, Michelle, I don't know, and Chris Reed tell me the same thing, but I don't know if you have what your target market really looks like. And because I think if I were to really ask you, you would say, well, as a real life coach, is there any life that's off limits to me?
No.
And so when we
Not really.
So when we start targeting as a life coach, right, we're saying that there's certain lives that I am not going to deal with because I'm going to target
right.
those lives only. And unless you have a niche that says I'm only going to work with this group, that's fine, but I think for most life coaches, we would say, I don't care what your life, who you are and what your life is, I can't really give you a target market. So then I think the advertising in Facebook or even LinkedIn, by the way, LinkedIn can get pricey. I ran into this. I have a story for that too. But it could become kind of a waste because you don't know where it's really going.
Yeah, you have to be targeted. This is, again, the thing I've struggled with, because I could come up with a niche, but I've been very clear with my friends that are coaches that ask me that niche is a marketing tool, not a limit.
Right.
And so you will attract people, but you'll also attract people who are like, hey, I saw that you're the whatever coach, whatever you label yourself.
The left-handed shoe store coach, right.
Thank you. But will you take me on even though I'm in a right-handed shoe store? And it's like, sure, yeah, let's talk. And so it's just a marketing technique. And I struggle with nailing it down because I know that it works as a marketing technique, and it never feels authentic. So the struggle.
We're running out of time, so I'm going to interrupt you, and I want to do two things with the 3 minutes we have left. So be mindful of your watches, people.
Okay.
So the first question, and I'd love for us to take up to a minute on this, is why social media? What is social media really doing there? Who uses it? Why are we using this social media thing? Jay, do you want to start us up?
Sure. It's communication, and it's another way to communicate immediately. It was the natural step in the evolution of the internet. We went from chat rooms to instant messaging to Skype formatting to now we can see faces that we put it together, and we have this immediate communication device where we can talk to more people simultaneously in a short period of time, and it allows us to stay connected.
Got it. Anything different for you, Michelle?
I'd just say because it's foolish to resist it. It's just gonna grow, and if you go with the tide and figure out how this does work for me versus being like, wow, that's that new thing,
right? And
that doesn't work. You can. You don't have to do it.
It's the Borg is your answer. I got it. We're down to our last minute or so, and I want to give it all to you guys. If you had a parting thought or a parting shot for our 30,000 or so listeners today, what would you have us know? Jay?
Yeah, Jay, go.
I would say choose your cultures wisely, your platforms wisely, and don't feel like you have to be on all of them. Be where your consumer is, and stay there, and be authentic.
Beautiful.
I'll say something a little different, which is nobody knows how this works. Like some of us know, like Jay, have done a lot of work and have figured out quite a lot and can guide you. And at the same time, I think if we're going to keep innovating and keep creating new ways of communicating with each other, we don't necessarily have to just fold into what's already happening. You could be the one to create the next thing.
Beautiful.
Preach it, sister. Preach it, sister.
Jay Izso is the Internet Doctor. You can find him online at Social Mediology. That's Mediology.com. Get his book. It's got Social Mediology, ? Where he'll talk all about the psychology and other research-based ways to empower your business and empower your online being and authenticity. Michelle Aiken, of course, is a coach and leader in the tri-state area. You can find her online at Michelle, MACHELLE, Aiken, AKIN.NYC. I can't speak, but it's a good website. Go there.
Hopefully they got it.
Thank you that's right, MichelleAiken.NYC. Thank you both very much for being with us, and thank you, our dear listener, for being with us. That's another edition of the coaching show behind us. Hey, program notes. There are extraordinary shows upcoming, including in 2 weeks, Jen Sincero of You Are a Badass will be right at these microphones. Thank you for listening each and every week to us here on WSRadio.com or wherever fine podcasts are available. This is the coaching show, and each week we bring you people on the cutting edge of coaching, things you need to know, or just plain interesting stuff. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Your search for the right office furniture will be done when you walk into Shore for sure. In our 46,000 square foot warehouse, you are sure to find the right new or used desk and chair for your home and office. Trusted for over 40 years, Shore is proven to provide great value, quality, and service. From free space planning to our white glove delivery service, you are sure to leave happy and satisfied. We're a family-owned business that will treat you like family for sure. Se habla español.
Do you want to be a professional coach? Are you in business trying to make a real difference with people you manage or work with? Have you started a coaching practice that isn't quite getting off the ground? Get the skills you need to be a successful coach today with the Coaches Training Program from Accomplishment Coaching. The Coaches Training Program will show you how to help others focus and be more fulfilled. Whether you want to improve your company's bottom line or create a thriving coaching practice, Accomplishment Coaching can give you the distinctions and practices you need to coach others effectively today. Accomplishment Coaching has spent 6 years developing a cutting-edge coaches training program that will have you ready to coach people professionally in just 12 months, and you don't have to take time off work to do it. To find out more about the Coaches Training Program, just call 1-888-548-6813. That's 1-888-548-6813.